So your only basis that God exists is because there is some moral objectivity.
No. I have many different pieces of evidence for God's existence. Objective morals are one piece of evidence that God exists.
And what would be your strongest piece, you would say?
I like the moral argument, but I also like design.
And okay, just give me a brief overview of the design real quick.
All right. In the same way that this points to a watchmaker, due to the complexity of the design, there must be a designer. Just in the same way that if you and I are traveling through the Dakotas, we come around a corner and I suddenly am confronted by Mount Rushmore, as are you, if I were to say, wow, look at the way the water dripped down over the rock face. Hey, that's old George's head up there. And that's Abe's head. And then there's Teddy Roosevelt. It's amazing the way the water just carved out the heads on Mount Rushmore. That would be ludicrous. The order and design of those heads of those presidents up on Mount Rushmore demands a sculptor. Similarly, the intricacy of the human eye, the brain, the central nervous system, the laws of nature demands some type of designer.
Okay, so God just happened one day and said, eye, hair, boom. And then we were created. It just happened like that.
No.
And then people would evolve, wouldn't they?
God can use evolution to create.
Okay, but then that would strike out God because evolution is scientifically proven.
No, evolution is not scientifically proven. The question is there a designer behind the process or is there no designer behind the process?
All right, and why is it so wrong to think there is none?
Because 100 times out of 100 in my observation and experience of life, a shirt comes from a tailor, a meal comes from a cook, a book comes from an author, a building comes from an architect, Mount Rushmore comes from a sculptor. Never once do I observe order come out of chaos by chance.
Not necessarily. A meal can come out of anything. It doesn't have to come.
You've got to be kidding me. A meal can come out of anything?
Yeah.
Well, I ain't going to be eating dinner with you, sir. You've got to be kidding me. No, sir, a meal doesn't come out of anything.
Yes, it does.
You're going to get food poisoning real fast. You're going to eat the wrong thing real fast. You're going to watch out.
Not necessarily. I mean, you can just kill an animal. And that's a meal. Yeah, you don't have to cook it. You can just eat it. You can just eat the flesh and everything, all the fur. It doesn't come from anything. It evolved. It evolved from, it was born from its parents, and its parents were born from its parents, and it was born. There's no necessarily a creator there. No unique blueprint. It was just repetition, 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 repetition. There doesn't have to be a person that creates that. It just happens.
It just happens.
It just happens.
Who killed the animal?
I did.
Okay, you did.
Yeah, but you can also eat
the animal just didn't come down in front of you, say, enjoy dinner, and die.
You don't have to eat it when it's dead.
Oh, that's right. You don't have to eat it when it's dead. That's right.
Yeah.
You're going to choose whether to ingest the food or not.
Well, yeah, sometimes it's better, but that's a different story. That was my time in Brazil. That's a different thing. And one question I would like to ask you, that is my main question, but why should we believe in God? What advantage do we get from believing in God than not believing in God?
Well, I'll tell you why. I got 3 sons, and I love the tar out of them, and I've given them a lot of gifts. And because they love me, they've looked me in the face and they've said, Dad, thank you. And when people give me gifts, I find it to be very wise for me to say, thank you. So you and I have been given the most incredible gift by God, the gift of life. I think it's highly reasonable and appropriate to say, thank you.
But I wasn't. I was given to me by my parents.
Ultimately, life comes from God. It doesn't come from non-life. You're right. You have a mom and a dad, and I had a mom and a dad. You're absolutely right. And they had moms and dads, and that's true. Good biology. Ultimately, though, you've got to ask yourself, where does life come from? Does it come from non-life, or does it come from life? It's far more reasonable to believe life comes from life than it is reasonable to believe that life comes from non-life.
Yeah, and God is non-life.
No, God is a living being.
No, he's not. He's an entity. Entity's just
so when you say he, you're talking about a living being.
Yeah, because I choose to personify it. People personify things. And everyone has personified it. They consider it a him.
Well, the good news of Jesus Christ is that God is not an it. God is a he, a personal being. No, he's
not a
not a
personal
male,
being, he's an
but he's a personal being who loves you.
Not
It takes a
necessarily.
personal being.
He does not love me.
Well, Jesus said he does, so
He
take it up
does
with
not.
Jesus.
Apparently, he does not.
Why do you say God doesn't love you?
Because of what has happened in my life.
Okay, good. Sir, a lot of bad stuff happened to a dude named Job. But Job made a very wise decision.
Yeah, Job kept believing in God, and then God rewarded him. But Job was kind of stupid.
No, Job was very smart because Job understood life is unfair. And you're right, sir. Life has been unfair to you.
I wouldn't say no. It has not been unfair to me. It has made me the person who I am, and I appreciate that. But it hasn't been easy. I can tell you that. It's just
Okay.
been a little bit harder than other people.
But you see, what Job understood was life is unfair, but God is fair. Don't get the two mixed up. So when life throws screwballs in your face, don't clench your fist and wave it at God. That's misplaced anger. It's not God who's getting you.
No, it's man.
Good. It's man. Or it's the unfairness of the circumstances of life. Okay? But remember, God's character is good, Jesus revealed. And Jesus doesn't blow smoke. He's reliable.
Yes, but if we blame men for the bad things that happen to us, shouldn't we thank men for when good stuff happens to us?
You better
Not-
think. The same
not
way my
God.
sons thank me for the gifts I've given them.
But not God.
Someone
so-
gives you gifts. Well, ultimately, yes. Ultimately, all the good things that I enjoy are gifts from God.
And so ultimately all the bad things that happen to us are because of God.
No, the bad
Well,
things
yeah,
that
why
happen, I'll tell you why. Genesis 3, chapter 3 records it very clearly. When we human beings told God, get lost, he partially honored our request. He took a step back from planet Earth, and chaos, unfairness erupted. That's why we say that life is unfair. Not because God created it unfair, but because we told God, get out of here. He respects our free will. He takes a step back, and chaos fills the gap. So you're born into an unfair, chaotic world. We all are.
It wouldn't be an unfair world, it'd just be a chaotic world.
Fine. Chaotic, unfair. Junk happens.
Yeah.
Painful junk happens.
Yes, and we can blame that on men. And then
A lot of it's a direct result of human irresponsibility, but also a lot of it's because life is unfair. A little baby dying of a gross genetic birth defect. Not necessarily because mom was a crack addict, but because of some genetic breakdown. Why? Because we're born into a chaotic, messed up, unfair world.
It's not unfair, it's just chaotic.
Okay?
It just happens.
Believe me, I'm not here to straighten out the etymology between chaotic and unfair.
Yeah,
okay?
I'm not going to try to do
Right.
that either. That's too hard. My brain cannot process that. I'm a liberal arts major. But it's just that why should we thank God and not blame him?
Because he gave us good gifts. One of those good gifts was a free will. And when we human beings abused our free will, there were horrible consequences.
Okay.
Life broke down.
But why would he give us that?
What? Good question. Ultimately, I do not know why God chose to create us with free will. He didn't consult me, obviously, when he chose to do that. But to the best of my thinking, my understanding is the only way love can be real is if there's free will. If there's no free will, there ain't no such thing as love.
Okay, and what do you define love as?
Love is a genuine desire to work for your success, for your well-being, to benefit you.
Okay.
And if I don't have free will, I cannot choose to benefit you. I cannot choose to help you. I mean, I do what I do because I'm programmed if I'm a machine. But if I have a free will, I can choose to help you or I can choose to hurt you.
Okay, but like saying that love is to just make someone succeed. Like
To help someone succeed.
to help someone succeed. So like you were saying, like that, we could take it like a step back to like Hitler era.
Yes.
I mean, like everyone who was doing all the stuff for Hitler, murdering all the people and stuff
Yep.
like that. Every one of those people loved Hitler.
Well, yeah, they followed him, unfortunately, yes.
They followed him, but did they love him? I mean, they were trying to
Some-
make him
some
succeed,
loved
but is
him.
that love?
But I don't think everybody who was a Nazi loved Hitler.
Yeah,
But yeah, some people loved him, yes.
some people did, and
Yeah.
some people didn't. Some people were forced to, but they still helped him succeed, and by helping him succeed, they love him.
In that sense, yes.
But then love is a very abstract thing. Love is you can make someone succeed just for like power.
Good point.
Also, you can love for like pleasure and passion.
Yep.
But that's not really. It's a certain free will for like pleasure and passion, but for like success in life, everybody wants success in life. That's like a common goal. We all want to do that. And whether we succeed in life, that's not, do we love ourselves? We could, or there is no love at all. It was just like an empty pursuit for power, for money, for stuff like that. And if we want someone else, it could be empty as well. We just want them to succeed. There's no love involved at all. And so love can't really be free will. Love is just a pursuit.
Okay, that's where we disagree.
All right. I have another question.
I think if she's been dating you for 2 months, I think that if she's told you, I love you, and your father called you up tonight and told you that he's been paying her $1,000 a week to, quote, love you, I think you'd be a little bummed out.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily? Okay, good.
She could have bought
You're
me
being
something.
consistent. I think it's scary.